All right, welcome back. Today, in this portion of the series, we are going to go over framing, and in particular, getting your frames into what's called a sectional frame. These are sectional frames made by Nielsen. They are also made by a few other companies like Clark, but these are really cool. They're not really expensive, so it's a great way to start if you want to get into framing, and they look really, really good on black and white prints. They're a little bit more simplistic design. So what you do, I get mine through Larson Jewell or another frame molding company, but I do have professional accounts set up with them. If you cannot create an account or don't want to for whatever, you can get them through like Dick Blick, American Frame. So you can get these online, and you can even buy sectionals at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and craft stores and things like that. So you can get these fairly easy. So you need the width and the height for the frames. The hardware kit, you're going to need a flathead screwdriver, some hanging wire, glass cleaner. This is ammonia-free Sprayway World's Best glass cleaner, and I was told to use ammonia-free a long time ago. This stuff seems to work really, really good, so that's what I've used. If you don't want to use regular glass, you can use plexiglass, but the glass I use is True View glass. And let's just get right into this here. I'll put the frame to the side for a second. So I have the glass already on top, and when you buy this, like I said, this is True View glass, and the regular glass, you can buy it in boxes, or you could go to, again, like a craft store and just get a sheet. They'll probably have True View, but the regular glass is like 55% UV protection, and then you can also get what's called conservation glass, which has a thin film that you put towards the print, and that blocks 95% of UV light. So if you're really concerned about fading or want it to be really, really archival, you can get the conservation. Then they also make one step up, which is museum, but do keep in mind the price goes up with each step. So this is just the regular glass, and the first thing I'm going to do is, this is a 16 by 20 print, 16 by 20 frame, and the glass coming out of the box will be pretty clean for the most part, but you're going to want to make sure it's clean. So I use the glass cleaner. I just set the frame or the glass right on top, and then I use what are called Quickie. They're Quickie cloths, and I find these awesome for the darkroom as well. They're pretty, they don't leave lint or anything like that behind. If you try and use paper towel, you're going to be just fighting with little specks here and there. But anyway, that's what I use. So you're just going to take the glass cleaner. You don't want to soak this thing, so I lay the glass down and I just spray some in the middle. Careful not to get it on the edges. And I take 2 of these and just clean it really nicely. Like I said, I've had really good success with this glass cleaner over any other. And when I worked in the frame shop, this is what they used, and the guy that trained me said, you got to use ammonia free, and that's what I've went with. So, all right, so this looks really good. I just make sure all that's off. Now I'm going to carefully pick it up, because you don't want to cut yourself, and flip it over. And you just want to grab the edges. So you don't want your fingerprints smudging in there at all. So just carefully flip it, just with your fingers on the edges, and then you're going to do the same thing. Give it a good clean. I'm really sorry about the glare coming from this light over the top from this top camera. I was trying to get a good angle, and there's just nothing I can do with glass. And so I'm pushing it as far forward as I can to at least have the picture part off of there. All right. So once that looks good, I like to just pick it up from this side And I will use my anti-static brush again. So I guess there's one more piece of equipment you might want to have is like an anti-static brush. And you can use compressed air. Just be really careful and make sure you have filters on it. And I wouldn't personally use canned air, especially at this point, because if you spray it in there and it sprays some of the liquid or whatever, it's gonna really mess things up. But I've had success down here. I've wanted to run a compressor line with a filter for a while. I just haven't, and this has worked pretty well, but it can bite you in the butt too. So anyway, so I just go through, and once the glass is nice and clean, you want to make sure that you get any dust and more so like black specks and things like that, because like I said, it can bite you in the ass, and I have many times got this all together and there's like a piece of dust or something right there, and it just, you got to take it apart, and you don't want to do that. So take a little extra time to make sure you're getting everything out, then plop it back down, line it up good, and that looks beautiful. All right, next, underneath here, so there's a mat, then the mat board that's mounted, and then I cut another piece of what's called foam core, and this is acid-free foam core, and you're going to want to do that to make this a little bit thicker. Typically you wouldn't necessarily have to, but sometimes I even put 2 and more in there to get more pressure on the back. So we kind of slide this frame in, and then you got to get you want to have a nice solid backing. So there's a piece of foam core cut to the same size underneath there, and once you have this sandwich done, then we can slide it into the frame. And I might want to add, I will typically put the 3 sides of the frame together before I do this, but we just did it this way. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for a sec. Now we're going to grab the hardware, and you have a bunch of springs, so you can just put these aside. Then you have these triangle pieces. This is what holds the edges together, and then it does come with these little bump-ons for the corners as well, and then the hangers. So we're going to put these aside. Now these you want to pair up. So there's going to be one with 2 screws in and one that doesn't, and you'll see that it says Nielsen on one side and not the other. So you want to make sure that Nielsen's facing up on both, and you just want to pair those up. So you can do that with all 4 of them. So once you have those paired up, we will grab the frames, and I usually take a long edge and 2 short edges, and you'll see that they're cut at 90 degrees. So what you're going to do is take, like I said, you might have to back these screws out just a little bit, and then these are going to go to the back, and you slide it in there, and you slide it in there, and you're going to want to have a nice soft flat surface to work with. You can do it without a surface as well, and then you're just going to, I like to just snug these up, and then I hold it like this, and I make sure that this top edge and this front line are, you don't want this overlapping. You don't want a sharp edge overlapping. So you want to line it up real good like that, and then I just come in from the back. So I hold it real tight. So I snug them up first, then I make sure everything's lined up just perfectly, and then I tighten them down. And sometimes you got to kind of mess around with it a little bit to get it just perfect. There's that. All right, then we're going to do the other side. And it's going to be backed out. This is a pretty straightforward way of doing it. Or it's that's the wrong side. Trying to do everything backwards to get it on camera is kind of not the easiest though. So, right here, I think, yes, okay. All right. I said you'll probably come up with kind of your own, but you want to be careful, clearly. You don't want to be dinging up the front of the frame. But you kind of come up with your own best way of doing this as well. But I usually just start laying it down on a flat surface from the front and then snug them up and then tighten them up good once they're, that one went good. Perfect. Now that I have the 3 sides done, I want to put these 2 in here and just lightly snug them up so that they don't fall out, because otherwise you're going to move them and they're going to go shooting out and you're going to be looking for your corner pieces and it's going to be a whole thing. You don't want to do that. And I might want to mention too, sorry about my voice. Like, we have this smog here from the forest fires that has been like ridiculous for like the last 4 days. And of course I went out and went mountain biking in it and been out shooting, and so all of a sudden my throat and lungs are like, I've had enough. But anyway, that's why I sound like doo-doo. So if I start coughing, that's why. I'll try not to. Okay, so now that you got that ready to go, the next we're gonna grab our print again, and basically we're gonna slide it in there. And I find the best way to do this is at the edge of a table. So I'll put it at the edge of the table, and that way I can put this here and I can just slide it in, and then you can just grab it from the bottom. So then you'll have, it will look like this without, you'll have 3 sides in. All right, next we need to just put this piece in here. So you want it to come to the front, and then now if you snug these up too much, this is not going to go in very well. So if those pieces that we had, so they do have, so you might have to back them off just a little bit, and then I'll go like this. Now we'll snug these. So these are the 2 that still need to be tightened. So we're going to snug those up. Find your screwdriver. A little bit tighter on that side. And then do the same thing and kind of keep the picture leaning forward if you can when you do this, because the more you can have the glass tight up against there, the less chance of crap getting in there, and you don't want that because you just got it together. You don't want to have to take it apart. So get that nice and good, and one more. And you just want to make sure they're tight enough for the size frame. And this is a piece of used foam core. You can see there's I gotta order some new stuff. But now you can put pressure on it. You can put pressure on it and just take a look, because once you put the springs in, then you're really not going to want to mess around with it anymore if you don't have to. So it looks good, but inevitably, even at this point, I will look at the springs, or I will look at the mat board and it'll look fine. I'll get the springs in, and then there is crap in the frame. So, but you do what you can. So now we're going to flip it over, and these are the springs. So I'll put, for this size frame, I'll put one here, and you just tuck them underneath. And And this is just going to keep pressure on. And if they're not pushing down, then you might want to consider putting more backing, like another piece of backing in here. Typically one's enough, but like in this case, I could get away with another one, but I'm not going to. I think for this size picture, it'll be fine. So the bigger you go, the more, you know, you're going to want to make sure things are in there. So I'll put 3 on this side, 2 on the top and bottom, and that's how many they gave me. So that must be the correct amount. Then 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now again, we will inspect. Things look good. Yeah, I think it looks great. You might not want to look too close though. Perfect. All right, now we got to put the wire on. So you're going to go from the top. What you want to do is measure a third down. So I guess I lied. You're going to need a tape measure too. All right, so once you find a tape measure, we're going to measure the total distance from top to the bottom, which is 20 inches. So that would be what, 6 1/3-ish? So we'll go 6 5. No, we'll go 6 1/2. We'll just go 6 1/2. So you want to be about a third down from the top. And I'm just going to take my screwdriver and kind of mark the metal. So 6 1/2. And then I'll just put the top edge of the hanger at 6 1/2, and that'll drop it down a hair more. You could use a pencil for this too. This is just, I've done it this way on the metal frames, and it works good. Might not be good for your screwdrivers though. And then you take these little guys, and they just pop in here, and you can slide it up. Like I said, I'm going to take the top edge right there and tighten it down. My screwdriver is just a little too big for those, but it is still working. All right, there you be. Now, this is just picture hanging wire. And this is super soft strand, finger friendly. So it's got a plastic coating on it. Don't know how necessary it is, but it does tend to help from the ends from fraying. So it is nice. But whatever picture hanging wire you have, just note that these are rated for different weights. This one's up max picture weight of 25 pounds. So if you have a huge thing that you're framing, make sure that the wire can take it. And for this, I usually thread it through one side, and then I will thread it through the next, just to make sure we have enough wire. Give yourself a little bit of slack, and then I'll pull it around, feed it back through, then go around the bottom and feed it back through. And then I will twist it. I usually try and make this look pretty nice if I can. And you just twist it around like so. And you can go as much as you want, I guess. I could cut it here. It's not going to go anywhere at this point, but let's go like that. And like I said, I like to try and make things look pretty. I like to try and make things look pretty if I can anyway. So then I will just take and cut this. I usually like to make sure I have enough slack. And I have seen people that don't put this taut. And you got to think of this wire, it's very similar to like a brake cable on a bike. When you put those in new, like they stretch over time. So if I leave this like this, it's going to end up stretching off the top over time. So I always go as tight, pretty much as tight as I can get it, because as soon as you put any tension on it, it's going to stretch it out. So I try and get this nice and taut. Yep, like that. Then we're going to go around it once and back through. And then pull it back. Because even me just doing this, you'll see that the wire loosens up quite a bit. Again, you don't have to be as... I like my coils to look nice, I guess. They don't have to, as long as you wrap it around. And we'll call that good. And now we have our hanging wire. Then it also comes with these little bump-ons, and those go right here. However, I do prefer, these are like little foam pads. I do have these little 3M bump-ons, so I prefer these. And these are mainly to keep the picture straight. I have seen people use felt pads. Those are just going to slide around. I guess they'll protect the walls a little bit, but the rubber ones are going to kind of stick and keep it straight. But anyway, I use these, but you do get a set of these little felt ones with the Nielsen, which work fine too, but these are a little bit nicer. Anyway, and then it is ready. It is all ready to hang. So that, my friends, is how you frame a black and white print, or a print in general, using a sectional frame such as this one by Nielsen. If you found this helpful, please hit the subscribe button. If I happen to have glazed over anything too quickly, leave me a note in the comment, or leave me a comment in the section down below, and we will see you in the next video.